for the Rick James tour, the Fire It Up tour. Oh, man. A rivalry made in heaven or hell.
I asked him, I said, man, what kind of image do you want to project? And he says, I want to be someone that nobody knows who I am. And I said, what do you mean by that? He says, I don't want them to know whether I'm straight, whether I'm gay, or what. I want to be stripped all the way down. Okay. I said, well, what do you want as an album cover? He said, I want the front of the album cover, just me, a big picture of me. And the back of it, me on a white horse on Pegasus, flying. I said, okay. My partner, Tony, his brother was a hairstylist. So immediately we went to work on his hair. And we got the hair right, and we shot the front of the cover, and we were looking at it, and we were going, I don't think the art department at Warner Brothers is going to accept this. And I said, the kid wants to be on a white horse, and he wants wings like Pegasus. Remember, they were big Western movies that they did. Went out to one of their ranches, and we found a white horse. He said he wanted to do it nude. I had my cousin Tony to go get a package of the little white ones, the DVDs. I got with the makeup artist, and I took part of their skin tone makeup, and I just capped it all over the underwear, threw him on the horse, and we got the pictures back to Warner Brothers, and then they went ahead and put on the wings, and there it was.
And so Warner Brothers wanted me to produce the album. I think it was Sexy Dance Drum. So he comes back to my house the next trip to L.A., and he plays me what he got. You know, we're supposed to be working on it. And, you know, I mean, I probably talked myself out of a lot of money, but I just told the truth. I was young. I heard the album. I said, I don't know, see what to do with this. I told Warner Brothers, y'all should leave him alone. This sounds great just like it is. And so they put it out like it was, and the rest is history. It's a hit.
And as soon as Prince put on that tape, oh my goodness, I want to be your lover. Why you make me feel so bad? Sexy dancer. Oh, we're on a plane back to LA, okay?
With his recent #1 solo, here's Prince and his first top 40 single. At number 11 here, I Want to Be Your Lover.
Prince was bound and determined to have it done his way. We did American Bandstand, and we did Midnight Special. That was a huge deal. He told us all not to smile and not to speak.
I don't remember him saying that. I mean, very well could have been, but I've heard that, and I wouldn't doubt it.
And we did what he said. When he started interviewing him, and Prince did his shy act and, you know, using fingers to tell him how many years he'd been, none of us really understood any of that. We just kind of went along with it.
I just know that, when it happened, I was like, okay. If you look at it, he's holding up his fingers, his hands are kind of shaking. He's nervous. I mean, that's a pretty major thing if you think about it. We're from Minneapolis, first of all, we weren't even supposed to get off the city block. Everybody in the neighborhood was like, you guys are never going to get off the city block. We got off the city block. And there we were on, American Bandstand. You don't really get much bigger than that. And so that was a big deal.
When Dick Clark asked me, who's the lovely lady, I couldn't help but crack a smile. I was so happy to be there. All of those were done in one trip down to L.A., so that we did American Bandstand and we did Midnight Special.
We had just done American Bandstand, and at that point, really didn't know if people were paying attention or not. We thought we were awesome, but, back then you really didn't know.
We were inside the studio. Rick asked us, what do you think about having Prince open up for us on our next tour? And everybody said, yeah, because we liked the song that he had out at the time, I Want to Be Your Lover. Yeah. And we thought it was a great idea.
Because we were in Huntsville, Alabama, we were in Jacksonville, Florida, we were in New York, California. I mean, we were all over the U.S.
There was a show we did in Denver, Rainbow Music Hall, 1,500 capacity theater. We do this show. The show sold out. It was like a Hard Day's Night. I mean, it was like nuts. We got chased like a caravan of fans. So that was a hint. I mean, that night was absolutely amazing. I mean,
Rick was the one who chose him to come out and open up on his tour.
So, and then we wound up going on tour with Rick James. And that was an unbelievable tour. And that's when I realized we had made it.
Anyway, we were out there through April of 1980. Right after about the first couple shows, I had to switch my look because Rick James was wearing my outfit.
during one of the songs that I had on. He got on the tour with us. He was our opening act for the Fire It Up tour. And you probably thought, oh, we'll help this kid out and give him a start being our warm-up act. And then when you realized that we were pretty monstrous, we didn't know he was that short. But when he got on stage, he was full of fire, electrifying. Yes, rock attitude, him, Dez, Andre Simone, they had the rock movement like the Rolling Stone. They was posing and sounding good. They had a powerful sound. But at the very beginning, the audience didn't know what to think of them.
He was holding his own once they saw his ability to entertain, and he got that hall pass.
So, we were getting a whole lot of ridicule for about the first 3 songs, and then after about the 4th song, people were like going, wait a second, these dudes is good. Those boos turned into complete cheers.
They had a for real competition thing. Rick was really starting to hate the pressure that Prince was putting on him. That little motherfucker come up on my stage.
Rick tried to have some camaraderie.
He would try to entice Prince to use drugs after the shows, and
Prince wasn't into it.
Got to the point where Prince was like, hey, you know what? I can do this better than you. Rick was like, no, you can't. Next thing you know, the F-bombs was flying. They was hating each other, and it was just chaos out there.
That was brand new to them. We basically introduced him to a different audience.
Prince coming on strong, man. He's gaining momentum, kicking Rick's ass some nights. I think he was probably more threatened by Prince than anything.
That made him somewhat jealous, but I thought, he didn't need to be jealous.
Every night, night after night, absolutely, positively just slaying them. I got to the point where I felt bad that they had to follow us because we were just doing something that, at the time, the R&B arena circuit, there was nobody that had ever done what we were doing. We were completely annihilating people.
Prince, if he was in this room, he would say it. Prince would do his show, and then we'd do ours. And 9 times out of 10, when we got finished with our show, people forgot who the opening act was. We used to kick his little ass every motherfucking night.
Rick was such a party monger. It's amazing he could get to his shows because backstage, his entire entourage would be back with their booze bottles and their joints, hollering at the tops of their lungs with Rick leading the cheer.
I'm not kidding. Rick was flagrantly smoking marijuana on stage. 2 people dressed in joint costume, police down in Birmingham, Alabama. And so you had Prince, completely anti-drug, and you had Rick, who was probably snorting coke backstage while they said this to his face. I witnessed the police saying, "Now, Rick, can't have you lighting up the marijuana on stage. We've been hearing about it from the other communities where you've been playing. And we're just warning you, we're going to have to arrest you if you do that tonight." He didn't listen, and they didn't arrest him either because they knew if they tried, it'd be a riot.
As Rick James said, cocaine's a powerful drug.
People would take that party with them. Of course, he had the giant joints that would smoke out the top.
Rick, I believe, really wanted to be that big crossover star that we would see not too much later with both Michael and Prince.
I'm not going to be a token for nobody. And right now, Michael's being a token. And so is Prince, who probably doesn't even care.
That was something that Rick really wanted. What he began to see is Prince was going to achieve that, and he probably wasn't.
Oh, he hated Prince. I thought Prince was really a nice guy. We would talk, and listen to the opening bands, and he was just a really cool guy, down to earth and stuff like that. And there was just this competition with him and Rick. Prince tried to be nice to him, but Rick, he just, I don't know. It's just a fierce competition or something. I don't know,
One night, towards the end of the tour, at one of the after-show parties, he grabbed Gail Chapman and tried to get her going, if you know what I mean. That upset Prince.
That's all right. I'll straighten it out. I'll straighten it all out. Got to hear my side of the story. Come on now. Did you see Rick James crying like a... Come on now. By this little short, androgynous skirt, high heel, fishnet stock going, wannabe man type human being. I don't even want to mention his name and give me no credit, right? That this little thing in high heel stilettos, this little thing who ain't 4'9", he would have played another gig, I would have broke him up. So I would have broke him off something so hard. 4'9". How could you imagine a 4'9" beating a 6'1" brother? Bad, that little shit. A little 4'9" androgynous wannabe, don't know what color he is. Come on now, let's get this story straight.
I was there. Rick was actually very nice to me and invited me to breakfast. And then he invited me onto his tour bus to view the cover of his new album. I did not know that I was not supposed to do any of this. Prince found out what I was doing and went into a rage and demanded that I get off the bus. I was sitting there in a booth. Rick is saying, "So what do you think of my new album cover?" I said, "I like it." Next thing you know, somebody's on the bus saying, "Gail, Prince wants you now." I said, "Now?" "He wants you off the bus now." "Well, Rick, thank you. It was great. See ya. Bye." Prince was tired of the costumes that I was coming up with, and he sent his girlfriend down to the hotel room I was in. And she sweetly came in, dumped this bag of metallic underwear on my bed, and said, "Princess, wear this or you're fired." And I looked at her and I said, "You gotta be kidding." She says, "No, he's not." "Didn't you guys have a relationship?" I go, "No."
He wanted to present the more overtly heterosexual side of who he was. Yes, I made out with Prince on stage. It's probably more of a claim to fame than anything, you know? I didn't have any problems with kissing a superstar on stage.
Right at the end of the tour, Rick James and his people stole our synthesizer and used them on a record.
Yeah, we used that to do the session with during the tour, which was fired up when we were on a break. We actually used the Prince equipment, put it back on the truck, and then, we went back on tour, We did a Garden Love album in a week. I don't think Prince even knew. He didn't know what was going on,
A lot of my stuff gets stolen.
But then he didn't like the fact that he was stealing parts of his show. And he was a little bit disturbed about that, and I think that's why he released him, according to Rick.
The Rick James tour, that was crazy. We went and we were on the tour, and he was having some issues on the tour. Tina was opening, and her star was kind of starting to come up, and his was getting a little bit convoluted because of just other stuff.
Very special person wrote for me. This is the first song that anybody ever wrote for me. I always wrote songs for everybody else, and nobody ever wrote me one. I've been here before. Deja vu.
Smokey Robinson. Where did you first meet him? What happened? How did that happen when you first met him?
He was walking down the hallway.
17-4?
Yeah.
That sounds strange. Just walking down the hall of the record company? You hadn't known him before then?
No, I never knew him before that. And I said, "Man, who is this?" And my manager said, "I think that you should work with him." And I said, "No." And she said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, I worked with so many people, and I had such a bad taste in my mouth that I didn't think that, why should this be any different, But it was different, and I was wrong.
That sounds kind of strange. A new artist in Motown and two new artists is getting together on a record. Does that usually happen like that all the time?
No, it doesn't. I really don't know why they did it, except for they probably were getting ready to let me go. So, they said, "Well, let's do this last thing."
What a loss they would have had.
I think they would. But
How long
again,
did you with them?
I think they might have believed in him.
character, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not He's real serious.
What do you think, Tony, about all of this newfounded career for your sister Tina Marie?
She's great. Ask you a question. I know you've been involved in,
And then remember the screen after she was played.
Yeah, the screen is what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
You were there when that happened, Jill?
Yeah. I started to cry because, I mean, well, I'm not a great piano player.
The next night.
You've done a lot of that?
Cases. Yeah, I was just on the road with Rick James and Prince.
Now, wait a minute. Now, that I can follow.
We were on that tour, and then we changed in the middle of it because the sales were down on Rick's tour. Promoter had booked the venues not selling out. So we left and jumped on Prince's tour. He had been touring with Rick earlier. This time Prince was headlining, and then we met.
I don't think they actually hit it off, with all due respect. I think she liked him, but he didn't gravitate that way. Tina had the very dominant personality. If she likes a guy, she will make it known. And I don't think that Prince responded well if you were too aggressive. He liked the cat and mouse with some women. I think that was it. Tina scared him, to be honest. He said she scared him because she brought him a bunch of roses at the end of like that whole like dirty mind thing. I don't think he was ready for Tina. Tina didn't need a man to do anything for her. She didn't need him in the studio. She didn't need a man. She was such a giving and loving person. But she was intense.
He came to me after one show and he goes, "We soloed your voice tonight." He goes, "I really like your tone of your voice." I just rolled my eyes. He was like, "Well, where are you from?" "California." "Where are you from?" And he goes, "Minneapolis." I was like, "Where is that?" I'd been around the block as far as the music business, or so I thought. My stepfather was Fuller Gordy, Barry's brother. My mother managed Tina. And I remember my mother was like, "Are you going to go watch his show?" And I was like, "No." And she goes, "You know, Jill, he's going to be a huge star one day." She goes, "I can feel it." And I said, "Really?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, we'll see."
You know, I think that from my perspective, and I think from Prince's at that point, we looked at Tina as sort of Rick's sort of thing, you know, because there was like this, we thought that, you know, well, if Rick hooked up with her, we don't want to have anything to do with her.
I know. Because Rick already had an issue with you guys. Rick already had issues with your band.
So it's well known at this point in time that he loved the movie The Idolmaker, and I think there was the vibe of the time that film is set in was kind of in that whole, you know, the girl groups and that whole thing, and I think that was just an idea that hit him and stuck, and he wanted to do like the updated version of that.
And so I'm in there singing. In walks Prince. I was so excited. He comes up to me after the show. First of all, he comes up, he says, "Well, I'm Prince." And I was like, "Oh, hi, my name is Sue Ann." And he says, "Well, very nice to meet you." And he starts talking to me about doing a project with me and doing some singing. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a dream come true for me. So
he actually was the one who really got the record deal. Like, "I want to get you a deal. I want to work with you." And so we worked together. But when they took the demo that we did to Warner Brothers, Russ Thyrett and "She Sounds Like You."
Making a song is like a new girl walking in the room, you know. You never know what's going to happen till all the things come together. And there she stands.
It's such a Cinderella story. I was a model in New York City. I really wanted to be out there. I wanted to be like Diana Ross. I wanted to wear the long gowns and look fashionable.
I met him at the American Music Awards, and that was in Los Angeles about 4 years ago. His manager asked me if I would take him to the bathroom. I thought he was gay.
We met at the American Music Awards, and he pursued me and kept calling me, and I really wasn't interested in him at first. I was actually sleeping on a mat on the floor and behind somebody's couch at the time, and then Prince and I started to date. Because we had a piano in the house, and I watched him sit down and play piano, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm done. You know, he sits down and he plays such incredible music. He would play Amadeus, and that kind of music just, you know, blew me away. But that was the true Prince. Just such poetry. It's a very beautiful story.
They had given him one of the locker rooms for his dressing room.
And I was in there setting everything up. And I'd set up all his stuff on the table for his hair, makeup, jewelry, all whatever. And he came in and looked at me and we said hello. He had a little boom box that I had set up on a table, and he put a cassette tape into the boom box. And so I started singing along with it, and I started singing little pieces of harmony with it and stuff like this. And I turned around and looked, and he's sitting there staring at me in the mirror, saying, "I didn't know you could sing." He didn't waste any time. It wasn't like he thought about it and then talked to me later. He just turned around, looked at me, and he said, "You could be the other hooker."
Prince said to me one day, after we'd been seeing each other for a while, he said, "You want to form a group?" He said, "If you really love me, you'll come with me."
When Vanity came on tour and was seeing his stuff for the first time, she was completely enthusiastic and excited about it because she'd been, modeling and been all over the place, but she had never experienced adulation like that before.
Oh, it's wonderful. Wouldn't you think?
I record the Stone City Band. They have 2 albums out that we've done, separate from my own. And the girls here got an album coming out, the Mary Jane Band. That's 3 of them.
Rick's idea was to create a group of women that were not wearing the same dress and the same gloves and the same wig and the same shoes. I guess he put forth that idea to Prince, and Prince did it first.
Saying Nasty Girls, which is definitely a hit.
Just after I'd met him, I wrote Nasty Girl. And then he took the song and he put music to it and added more junk to it. And so it became my first song.
First night he picked me up, Nasty Girl was done. I was like, this is like crazy. This is amazing.
We went to this house, a split-level house at the back of a cul-de-sac. I heard the music coming from downstairs, and I went, "Oh, is that the studio downstairs? Oh, this is cool. He's got it right here in his house. Is this where he lives, too? This is cool." When I heard Nasty Girl, I went, "Oh, my God, that song's going to be a hit."
I'm living in a fantasy. It's all part of a fantasy also. So.
When I see something as blatant as this, I'm supposed to sit by and say, "Cool"?
This motherfucker. I feel for Rick back then. It got to him, man.
Prince put him in some degree in despair. I don't think he handled it well. Rick was jealous.
Well, he had this dream of having this all-girl group. I think both him and Rick James had the same type of thing that they were coming out with at the same time.
Basically, Rick did share the idea with Prince that he wanted to have a lingerie-clad group at one point, and then Prince beat him to the punch. He put it together, but not as well thought out as Rick did. He's like, "I'll put 3 pretty girls together, and I'll put them in lingerie, and we'll give them a hit record." This Kevin and Nasty Girl, they're just standing there in the video.
I was a project girl from the East Coast, and they called me Teen Marie in my neighborhood because I reflected everything she really represented. I grew up in a multicultural society as a child where a lot of black and white people didn't talk in the beginning, and it was a different experience for me. But Rick James saw some talent in me, and I thank God that he put me in there because I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be able to be who I am today without Rick James.
Anyway, Rick and Prince, they both had 2 families like each other and this and that. Hey, we respect the Prince camp, and they respect our camp. So, the media tried to pin against Mary Jane was what was the better group. Beautiful girls all the way around. I just think the Mary Jane girls, to me, had shown more talent, vocally, choreography-wise, stage, just staging, music videos. Just think more money was spent and more thought was put into it than low budget.
The Mary Jane Girls, and that was 82, 83. And so was Vanity 6. So, I think Vanity may have come out ahead of us, but Rick did too much talking about coming out with the girl group. And they may have beat us to the punch on that. But I think the girls were much more successful than Vanity 6 was. You can push something out there. You can push those rockets out there, but they fail. You haven't done much. So, that's kind of like what happened with Mary Jane Girls and Vanity 6.
At the end of the Time tour, early part of that year, like February, we spoke on the phone. He came to LA. We saw each other when he finished Cincinnati, that last show. He told me they had just had a crazy food fight. He was with Vanity, I think. And he said, well, I'll call you when I get there.
I fell in love with him, and he fell in love with me. Yeah, there was times that we had a whole lot of fun. But I was like in love with a guy that was playing another playpen.
With Prince, if Jill came down, it was to do a part. If Lisa came down, it was to do a part. You know, we were doing the Vanity 6. I mean, I was aware that he was involved with Vanity. I was aware that he was involved with Jill, but it wasn't the main focus when we were in the studio. It was business. And when we were cutting the music, it was usually just Prince. They would come in for the vocal.
I laid vocal down. My whole vocal ended up being kind of the guide for whoever was going to do the song, but also it stayed in the song. That's how it kind of went down. And then he could therefore keep me working on other stuff too.
I spent a lot of my time alone when I was younger, you know, and that's how I started writing. I'd write my feelings down on paper, and I started writing when I was 12, 13.
Vanity 6 was Prince's 1980s version of the Supremes. And things fell into place with finding the people that wound up doing it and being in it.
He is very selective in who he chooses to work with, too. And I think it has a lot to do with chemistry he has with the artist, too. And so when that happens, it sort of always feels like it was already
Meant to be,
like destiny somewhere. So you kind of feel that you're where you're supposed to be.
He had gone through a breakup with Susan, and it was really kind of a weird transition. He had everybody, Vanity. It was just a lot going on.
Just living, you know, just life in general, just my own life, you know. I write a lot about it and the things I feel. And I'm free to do what I want to do, and it's really good. It's a good feeling, you know.
I think I was some kind of refuge in the middle of whatever all that other stuff was.
You worked with us, and we worked to break the barriers. We broke down some barriers.
When I met these girls, right before I met them, I wrote Drive Me Wild and Makeup, you know, and those are the two songs that are on the album.
But even then, it would be just he and I and Denise, or he and I and whatever. There's a song on that record I played drums on. It's not credited, nobody knows. It was 3 times 2 equals 6. Yeah. The kind of wobbly drums, that's me. But with that, we just kind of worked in that small kind of ensemble that way.
My first published song was on this, was the Vanity 6 album. My first published song was Fight the Beat, which is like, it's on the, I was my first published song.
What I was saying,
when somebody is Svengaliing you, or you're their muse for a period of time, they sort of take over your whole life.
Denise, got a new name for you. And what's that, Prince? China. I said, no way, absolutely not, no way. Another one, please. And so the next day came with Vanity.
I felt like I was stuck in another man's dream, Prince's dream, but it wasn't the dream that I had for myself. When I went into business with Prince, he got all the say-so and all the clothes that I was wearing. He had me wearing lingerie, but I put coattails on top of that, you know, and long boots, because I wanted to cover myself up. See, I had to fight for the coat to wear and the boots to wear.
You know, there was a little bit of talk with my mom and Anna Gordy and Gwen Fuqua, and having my hair dyed. That was like a big thing. They were older women and they were concerned, but they understood the process of the whole image change. They knew what was happening. The whole thing is they wanted to make sure, does she know?
Debuting at number 10 with his first top 10 hit on the pop chart is a man from Minneapolis who recently made the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, Prince and Little Red Corvette.
Black musicians are complaining that they are being left out of the video market, specifically the music, television, cable operation.
The creator of MTV is 29-year-old Bob Pittman. Many black artists have been told their music doesn't fit the format.
We're being sat in the back of the bus television style. And if Pittman gets away with this, and there are other cable shows that form, they're going to try it.
We are not all things to all people. We are cable television. You know exactly what you're getting when you turn on the channel.
Now, this isn't the Wizard of Oz. I mean, there are black people, and we're being excluded from the art.
And at number 1 on the album chart for a 13th week is a man who's also at number 1 on the soul chart. You got it, Michael Jackson and Thriller.
In the past few months, MTV has increased the number of black videos it programs to include Michael Jackson and Prince.
MTV Music Television. You're watching MTV Music Television in stereo.
He played this little thing, some basketball. They challenged each other. It was like the shirts versus the blouses, Charlie called it.
In '85, that's when Purple Rain came out and Prince was the...
We used to go out all the time to this one hot spot in LA. I'd have my little table, Prince has his table. It was Prince and I, my wife, Terry Copley.
Prince came in.
Eddie Murphy and his crew came.
He had this other cat named Mickey Free.
I knew Charlie and all of Eddie's crew. Prince would have people come up to his house after the club to hang to hear new records. We were sitting there.
He had a nice environment. We listened to the music.
Eddie Murphy, he brought a big boom box with his new song, Party All the Time.
Party all the time. Party all the time.
Party all the time.
Punk Funk King Rick James was to find Eddie Murphy.
Well, he's got his own style. He has his own sound. I was scared when we first came here, but now I'm like this. Did you hear the record?
This bores me.
Prince said, let's play basketball. We went out to the court.
Red shoes or red top.
Prince had his club clothes on, yes.
You know we're going to call this the shirts against the blouse.
Do you know that this little thing beat Charlie and them?
Shot after shot.
He said he was whipping all over the court. We couldn't stop him. I wouldn't even tell nobody that.
It was all over.
Out of nowhere, I just said, want some pancakes?
Took us in the house and served us pancakes.
And then went and made pancakes for him.
Well, I didn't make them, but we had pancakes.
Prince's cook, name was Randy, cooked us pancakes.
Oh, definitely.
And you got game?
Oh, definitely. And he don't.
Yeah, he really can play, man.
And be honest, it ain't that I'm that great. He's just so bad.
Yo, man, it's not shocking if the black man can play basketball.
That's a true story, by the way.
Can you imagine?
Pancakes.